Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for coming to our first time homebuyer course. My name is Jasmine Hall, founder and executive director of Generational Wealth Educators. And I want to get started with that. All right, so just a quick introduction. Our agenda for today, we're going to talk about preparing for home ownership, the mental battle it takes to buying a home, financial management, getting ready to buy a home, understanding credit, financing your home, locating your home, and staying in your home. All right, so just a quick introduction of Generational Wealth Educators and who we are. Our mission is GW help families create generational legacies by promoting financial and mental wellness, investing in home ownership to underserved communities. And our vision is GWE Vision is a world where all people experience life fulfillment and can build generational wealth for their families regardless of race. All right, so module 1, for preparation for home ownership. All right, so here's my contact information. Contact me if you have any questions. My realtor license is 322-752. You can give me a call, 704-266-1930. And I am with eXp Realty. All right, so quick things before we get started. I wanted to just kind of prepare y'all for our class today. Mentally prepare y'all for our class today, really. So just starting off with a quote, work hard for what you want because it won't come to you without a fight. You have to be strong and courageous and know that you can do anything you put your mind to. If somebody pushes you down or criticizes you, just keep on believing in yourself and turn it into something positive. And I start out with this particular, this is a triplex that you see here. This is my first real estate investment, and which is kind of warrant why I started this class. Look, when you start to go to buy a home, you got to mentally prepare yourself. This is the hardest thing. I don't know. It probably was the hardest thing I ever had to go through. Just the amount of self-doubt, the amount of giving the stuff to the lender so they can get into underwriting. It's just a lot. So you got to make sure you prepare yourself for the battle, prepare yourself to go through the journey to ultimately get into your home. So let's get started. All right. So pros and cons of homeownership. Building equity is a pro. Mortgage interest and property taxes are tax deductible, so you save money on your taxes. Appreciation, of course, and can be used to create wealth. A lot of people, when they buy homes and they get a certain amount of equity, they can refinance and pull money out. They can do a home equity line of credit, and they can pull money out that way and put their kids through college or buy a property, start a business. However you see that you want to pull this money out, you have that advantage to do that. Now, there are some cons. Of course, it's upfront cost. The home buying process is complex. Of course, that journey of getting to your home, you got to handle all repairs and, of course, property taxes. Okay, and just to kind of quick through, we'll go into that of the home purchase process. But of course, you want to find a realtor, or if you want to start with a lender, that's completely fine. You definitely want to get pre-approved, not pre-qualified. Find your home, make an offer, get in the contract, and show up to closing. All right, so going into module 2, the mental battle, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Deja.
Hello, everybody. Hope y'all are doing well. I am Deja. I am the president of GWE, and I will be going over the mental battle. Stress and anxiety, understanding stress and anxiety. We all have a gut feeling about what stress is, and many of us are more familiar with it than we like to be. What is stress? How does it affect our physical health, and where does it come from? Stress is defined as the reaction to perceived threats or challenges brought on by life stressors or circumstances. Stressors can cause psychological and emotional reactions. Now, anxiety. Anxiety is the feeling of nervous or unease, usually in anticipation of an upcoming event or anything with an unknown result. Everyday life issues can cause anxiety. Things like worrying about paying bills on time or even having a job interview. Everyone feels anxious in some way or form. Negative self-talk. Self-doubt and self-sabotaging. Self-doubt, it is the lack of confidence in oneself and one's abilities. Self-doubt is another form of self-sabotaging. A combination of both stress and anxiety can create thoughts of self-doubt. The feeling of self-doubt can cause negative self-talk. Any inner dialogue you have with yourself that may be limiting your ability to believe in yourself, as well as your ability to realize your full potential, is known as negative self-talk. It is any thought that undermines your potential to make positive life adjustments. Now, self-sabotaging. Self-sabotaging occurs when we destroy ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally, or deliberately hinder our own success and well-being by undermining our personal goals and values. Lack of motivation. How can self-doubt and negative self-talk cause lack of motivation? Loss of motivation can develop when stress and anxiety lead to self-doubt. If we tell ourselves things like, I'm not going to win the home, I'm not capable of buying a house, or I don't deserve to be a homeowner, these beliefs will gradually become engraved in our minds and then become our truth. This manner of thinking is based on two simple words, I can't. When we believe we can't, we put out less effort, we raise our chances of failure by putting in less effort, supporting our own negative ideas and creating a vicious cycle. All right, and I will be turning it over to Miss Nia for Module 3.
My name is Nia. I'm the creator and founder of Perspectives. Feel free to contact me. My information will be shown on the screen. So we're going to get into today of how to prepare financially for purchasing a home. All right, so one of the first things you want to do if you're looking to purchase a home is you want to set that goal. And when I mean set goals, you want to be very specific. It's not enough just to say, I want to purchase a home. You want to be specific to say how much you plan to save. Things like that help you and will motivate you along the way. It'll also help trigger new behaviors because you can always remind yourself about those different goals, which will help you focus. A lot of times it's very hard and you get discouraged along the way. So you want to work to set important goals, make sure there's specific goals that you're able to measure and you can work to So you can work towards those goals, make sure that you can actually know when you're working towards them, how far along you are. These type of things will help you stay focused and continue to work towards them. So one of the goals that are very important is spending goals. If you're looking to purchase a house, you're going to have to make a lot of adjustments to different spending habits you have because owning a home does include other expenses. So spending goals basically, it's a simple method to save money on common purchases that you make on a regular basis, but you basically work on establishing what those spending goals are. Sometimes you might create a spending plan. So we'll discuss that a little bit more on the next slide, but a spending plan basically is a plan for your money. You're going to decide, you're going to keep up with your income and expenses, and then you'll create a process that helps you save the amount of money you need to purchase the home. And you're also set up so that you can make sure you're paying your bills on time because that plan will also include the date that bills are due. So these are a couple of things that you want to think about when you're looking to purchase a home because your expenses are going to change. You'll have different things that you'll need to pay for. So you want to prepare for that before you get into the home and not after. Okay, so let's get into creating a spending plan. So one of the first things you want to do is list what sources of income you have coming in. One of the reasons you want to do that is because it's hard to create a spending plan without knowing exactly what's coming in. Once you decide what's coming in, then you want to list all of your expenses. Now, this is important because when you go through the home buying process, they will assess your expenses, but all of the expenses that you pay may not be listed on your credit. So you want to be mindful of expenses that you need to make so you can get a big picture of how much of your income is leaving every month. Now you compare the both, and then you want to subtract your expenses from your income. Now, once you do this, you're either going to come up with a deficit, which means that you're going to have less money left because your expenses will equal more money than your income, or you're going to have a surplus, which means that you have money left over. At this point, you want to prioritize which expenses are important if you're looking to create more money, because you're going to have to save so that you can save for down payment and closing costs and other expenses that come along with the home buying process. So that's why this is a good idea to do this if you're thinking about buying a home, because this will help you identify if you are financially ready to purchase a home. So you want to make sure you take this sit down time with you and yourself so that you make sure you can compare and prioritize what's important. And what this might look like, it might look like maybe you might need to make adjustments to some of the places that you're spending, but creating this spending plan helps you identify where your money is going. So where you can make adjustments, you will easily be able to be seen. Now the budget, my favorite word. Don't let budgeting scare you. Don't get discouraged when you see the word budget. All a budget is, as we spoke about with the spending plan, it's just a plan for your money. All this means is that you're making a plan for your money before you get it. That's all a budget is. And it's also important to know that just because you set this budget today, this does not mean this is your permanent budget. Budgets are meant to be changed and adjusted. They do not last forever. So you make sure that you want to revisit your budget. This might happen monthly, bi-weekly. It's really up to you based on your finances and your financial situation. Another important part is do not skip the fun. A lot of times budgets fail because we fail to put ourselves in our budget. We fail to add personal spending. We fail to add different things that are fun to us because we think that budgeting means we can't have fun. But this causes our budget to fail because that's discouraging. Like, who can live like that without ever having any fun or doing anything enjoyable to them? It's important to include those in them because nobody's saying that you can't have fun. You just make sure that is listed on your budget. I also want to say that there's no cookie cutter solutions. So what might work for me might not work for you. Our situations are different and our financial goals are different. So you want to make sure that your budget is something that you can work through. It's something that works for your financial goals and your income and finances. Different individuals get paid at different times of the month, different frequencies during the month. So you want to make sure that your budget is based on your financial goals and the amount of money that you have coming in. And then you make sure you pay yourself first. When it comes to saving and bringing in income, you want to make sure that you're putting money to the side for yourself, as this will be your emergency fund. When purchasing a home, you'll have repairs and replacements, and therefore you will need to have money prepared for those things. So analyzing current spending, as we discussed before, you basically want to look and prioritize what expenses are important. You might have to cancel unused subscriptions if you haven't used them within 6 months. You might have to adjust and actually create a shopping list before you go to the store. Use the wait method. This basically means that before you make a purchase, you wait it out for 24 to 48 hours before making that purchase to decide if this is something that you really need to be purchasing. Work on paying off debt. Your lender will speak more about the amount of debt that you're holding as you enter the home buying process. And then you want to talk about how you can create savings. You might want to automate them so a set amount goes to save and you don't adjust it. You might need to pick up a side hustle to bring in that additional income. So you just want to look at different ways that you can work to create more savings to prepare yourself for the home buying process. Okay, tracking expenses. This is an important part when you're prioritizing which expenses to cut and which ones not to. Sometimes it's a good method for you to spend maybe about 2 weeks or so writing down everything you spend. There are many applications that allow and help you to do this, but it's very important to write it down yourself because then it will be more in your memory and you'll be more focused on that. So it'll let you know exactly where you're spending money. Sometimes you might purchase something in the morning, but you forgot about that by the PM. So tracking your expenses will help you identify what your actual spending habits are. Once you do that, you can categorize those expenses and group them by household. So then you can get an idea of what you want to spend money on each month and what percentage of your money goes to different categories. And then lastly, you want to make sure you're buying a home that you can afford. So that's one of the reasons you're taking all of these measures towards your finances while you're prepared for home ownership. Okay, so now we're going to talk about credit. We worked on our finances and I'll pass it over to our credit specialist.
Hello guys, so I am Orma Mabry and I am a credit strategist. So basically what that means is I give you tips, tricks, and strategies on how to improve your credit report. So what makes up your credit score? So 30% is the amount that you owe. So that means if you have a credit card or a loan that's $100, 30% of that is how much you owe. Payment history. Amount owed and payment history are the two major important components of your credit score. Your payment history is basically how long you have had the card open and how long you have made your payments on time. On time means before the due date. 10% is new credit. So that's every time you open up a credit card, open up a new personal loan, open up a new mortgage. Length of credit is how long it's been open. and credit mix is different types of credit that you have open. So a mortgage is a different credit mix, a personal loan, a car loan. These are all the different credit mixes. So this is a step-by-step guide of how to improve your credit profile. So first, you want to get a copy of your credit report. You can get your credit report for free from annualcreditreport.com. And then you're looking for any type of errors on your credit report. So if you have moved in the last year and you have your old address on there, you need to change your address. If you have gotten married, your name has been changed, your last name has been changed, you want to make sure that that information is updated, because if not, then your credit report has wrong information, and that is grounds for you to be able to get things removed, get things deleted. So that's why you first want to get a copy of your credit report, see if there's any wrong information, and start getting that information fixed. Another thing is paying your bills on time. So that's about the payment history, making sure that whatever that minimum payment is, when it's due, you want to go ahead and make sure those things are taken care of. And then keeping your credit utilization below 30%. That's a good rule of thumb, but you really want to keep it under 10%. And then paying down other debts. So you want to set up your debts lowest to highest. You can either do by the percentage or you can do by the actual amount. Either one, whichever one works for you, just find out a plan, work it, and get it done. Keeping old credit cards open. So although there's a lot of financial gurus and credit people that says like close your credit cards, don't use them. Guys, we need credit. We do. You also need money, but we also need credit as well. So keep those credit cards open. Try and use them every 3 months just so that there's still activity on those credit cards. But hey, do not close them. Don't close them, guys. Don't close them. And then take out credit. Don't take out credit unless you need it. So you don't want to open a whole lot of credit cards. You don't want to open a lot of personal loans. You don't want to open a whole lot of mortgages, because that's showing creditors and lenders that you are desperate for credit. Something is going on in your financial situation where you're like, I need to get this money. I need to get this money. So we want to make sure that we're not taking out credit unless you actually need it. Understanding your credit score. So a Vantage score is what you see on Credit Karma. This score is not accurate. So lenders are not looking at Credit Karma. I promise you, they're not looking at Credit Karma. FICO score is a more accurate score that lenders actually look at. And Credit Karma, you can use that for a reference as far as looking at what accounts is on your credit report. But if you want an accurate picture of your what accounts, your real score that lenders may look at, you want to use the FICO score model. And the score models are about the same, 300 to 850. You can see your Vantage score on Credit Karma. But as I said, you want to look at that more so at what's on your credit report, not so looking at the score. The FICO score, you can go to My FICO to see that score, and those accounts and that information is a little bit more accurate, and lenders use that. They tend to use that more. They don't use Vantage score at all. They tend to use the FICO score. All right, so when you want to establish and improve your credit, so you first want to review your credit report. So just as I said before, get a copy from myannualcredit.com. You want to look at what information is incorrect. Then you want to start disputing those things with the 3 different credit bureaus. You want to get those, send in those dispute letters, get results. And this process can take from 30 days to 90 days to 6 months. It just depends on what your situation is. If the credit, any of the accounts have been on there longer than 7 years, if it just hits your credit. These are all the factors that you have to make sure that you're aware of before you go start in the process. And then building. There's a lot of different secure accounts that you can do. One of the things that I work with my clients with is Self-Lender. That's a good one that a lot of people use. There's one called Credit Strong. These are all different credit builder accounts that you can afford. Like Self-Lender, I think it's 20. They have one that's $25 a month. Credit Strong, they have one as low as $15 a month. So you don't have to go out here and pay these different credit repair companies to do your thing, and then you're paying them every month, but then you may not be getting results every month. Like, you can go out and do these things yourself. And so as what I do, I help people come up with a plan that you can work on your own. You don't have to hire anybody to do this. You can just have me as a help person that will help you through the process. I give you the blueprint, you go out and do it, and then you will have access to me of if you have any questions like, hey, I got this dispute letter from the bureaus, like what exactly does this mean? Or is it being removed? Is it not being removed? Do they need more information? And that is where I come in. Another thing is restoring. So once you have did the dispute letters, your credit report is in tip-top shape. Now you are able to qualify for the lower interest rates. You're able to get pre-approvals for mortgage loans and get better rates overall. So that means auto loans, personal loans, credit cards, all of this. You want to improve your credit report so that you can get those better rates. All right, so here is one of the credit accounts that you can open, a secure loan with Self. You can also get your free credit report from annualcreditreport.com. So these are just some links that you can use just to improve your credit report. All right, and now module 5, financing your home. And now I'll pass it over to Miss Kay.
Hey everybody, my name is Khadija, also known as Kay. I'm a mortgage banker, and also I'm a newbie blogger. I just recently started a personal finance blog that I'm very excited about. So that's something I'm working on as well. But a little bit about my background. I have a BBA in finance and MBA in business administration. And I've been in the mortgage industry for 9 years now. I really love what I do. My role will be considered a sales role, but I don't consider myself a salesperson by any means. I consider myself an educator. I consider myself a mortgage coach, as I indicated in all of my information here. I consider myself a coach to home buyers, future home buyers, or anybody that sees themselves buying a home in the future. I'm here for that reason. And also, in addition to Facebook and IG, you can also follow me on TikTok, also at Carolina Mortgage Coach. Just a quick disclaimer, some of the things we're going to talk about in our training today is not all inclusive. These are merely hypothetical situations and examples. Some of the guidelines do change from time to time, so everything may not be applicable in the future that we're talking about today, but just know that we are throwing out some examples right now that may not apply in the future. Now, how to obtain a mortgage. So when we apply for a mortgage, we have to do a loan application just like, like you normally do when you apply for credit, right? So some of the first things that we'll look at on the lending side will be your work history and your credit. As far as your work history, we're going to look for, what we're looking for is income stability and income consistency. And then we'll get into that a little bit more. We can also go to the next slide though. So as far as your employment history, we're going to look for a 2-year history. Now, this does not have to be 2 years on the same exact job, but it does need to be a 2-year history, which we prefer within the same field. You can switch jobs, but at least show that you have been employed consistently over the last 2 years. Now, if you have any gaps that are over 30 days, we are going to ask you, hey, why did you have this gap in your employment? What were you doing between this time? And provide a quick letter of explanation for that gap. Now, same thing with your income. We're also looking for stability, right? Because we're going to look to see if you can pay the mortgage. So we're looking for stability in your income. Has your income decreased within the last couple of years? Has your income increased? Which is, of course, what we like to see. Now, as far as your credit, when you're dealing with the lender, like this is one of the first things we're going to look at, right? Going to pull your credit, see if your credit's in line. Now, how do we analyze your scores? When we pull your score, we look at all 3 of your scores, right? From all 3 credit bureaus. But we're going to use this credit score that falls in the middle to determine your eligibility, your program options, and all of that good stuff. Now, if you're not quite sure where your credit scores are prior to applying for a mortgage, you can definitely utilize the tools that Oma talked about in her presentation. And you could also, my recommendation would be to keep track of your own scores in those ways. One website that I find that clients use a lot that is accurate to what I see is a website called Credit Check Total. So www.creditchecktotal.com. There's different plans you can get there. There's $20 plan, $30, $40, I believe it's still the same. And there is also an option to monitor your mortgage scores within Credit Check Total. I'm not exactly sure which plan allows that, but I've had clients that have monitored their mortgage scores in that website, and they've sent me screenshots of their scores. And then when I pulled their credit, it was dead on to what they saw. Now, you do need a few more points. I do know a lot about credit. I don't practice credit repair, but if I do have clients that are close to where they need to be, and I have their credit report in front of me, I can give them recommendations based on their credit report and just what I know from experience, and I can just give them some tips on what they can do to improve their scores in a short amount of time. Like I said, I only do that case by case. And I don't do credit repair. You can definitely speak with our credit repair specialist, and I'm also partnered with my sister who has a credit consultation company. So if you need a little bit more assistance in that area, we'll definitely have to get you over to someone like that. But I do also offer credit recommendations for my clients that need a little boost. Debt to income ratio. So number one, keep your debts as low as possible. We'll get into that a little bit more. We're not saying you can't have. It just basically depends on the monthly payment, because we look at everything monthly. We're not saying that we don't care about the balance of any of your credit cards or installment loans, but we mainly focus on the monthly payment. Everything we look at is monthly. We break down monthly payment, monthly mortgage payment, monthly income. Try not to make any large purchases while you're in the home buying process, because that can throw off your debt income ratio. You want to keep your debt income ratio at a certain number. I'll say that once you get around the 50% debt income ratio, then that's where we're kind of getting in a little bit of trouble, because that's essentially saying that half of your monthly income is going towards your monthly debt every month. We don't want that for our clients, right? We want you to be able to afford that mortgage payment on top of being able to afford your lifestyle, right? We want you to be able to afford your mortgage payment comfortably, so we know that you can pay us and you can also afford a mortgage on your own in addition to living your life, right? Okay, so while she's getting, I'll go back to what I was saying. So try not to switch jobs. So it's not saying that you can't switch your jobs in between, while you're in the mortgage process now, but we highly, recommend that you don't, because it could delay your closing. So if you switch your job in the middle of the home buying process, we have to reach out to the new employer, get your new income calculated. You may be fine to do that, but we recommend that you don't, because that could throw off your debt income ratio as well. We talked about this just now. Try to keep your debt to income ratio below 43%. You can calculate your own debt income ratio. You can try it right now. So basically, you want to take your total debt, all your monthly debt, not your expenses. There's a difference between debt and expenses. Debt is money that you actually owe, right? Expenses are, you have your bill, like your household bills, your cable, and your utilities. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at mostly anything that's on your credit report, and also anything that's not on your credit report that you actually owe, like taxes. Maybe you have a car loan that's not on your credit report. Maybe you have furniture bills. Those we also need to consider. So you take all your total monthly debt plus your estimated monthly mortgage payment. Now, of course, you wouldn't know that right now, but just throw out an amount. Well, what do you want your mortgage payment to be? Add that in. That's your total debt. Divide that by your total monthly gross income. That's your income before any taxes, right? So take that, and that tells you how much your debt income ratio is. You want to keep it low as possible. That just helps you be able to have some wiggle room in your sales price. It's just very beneficial, because we don't want our clients to be what we consider house poor. So when you have a lot of debt and your debt income ratio is pretty high, you're very close to that. Getting pre-approved for a mortgage. Okay, so when you get pre-approved, that's going to tell you how much house you can afford. It's also going to tell you what your estimated monthly mortgage payment is, and also how much you might need to put down on the house. So that's why it's important to get that pre-approval, not just for your sake, but also for the seller side, so they know that you have financing. They know you can buy the house, right? Documents you will need to provide up front, like we talked about, your employment history. We will need if you are a W-2 employee, we will need your paycheck stubs, the most recent 30 days worth. And also we'll need bank statements for any accounts that you're planning to use for home buying. We need the most recent 60 days worth. And then if you are self-employed, we'll need your most recent 2 years worth of tax returns. If you're a W-2 employee, we need the most recent 2 years worth of W-2s up front. So those are at the minimum, the documents that we'll need in order to submit a pre-approval. Expenses you can expect during the mortgage process. So this is important because a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't take the time to actually prepare for home ownership, or they don't even know what to expect until they're actually in the process. Right? So we're here to make sure you guys understand what to expect, and that also helps to alleviate a lot of the stress that's involved in home buying. Home buying can be stressful, but when you know things up front and you kind of know what to expect, that can help you go through and like, okay, we're good. I know what this is. I don't feel anxious like we talked about earlier because I already knew about this, right? I'm prepared. So there's 3 things you can expect to pay out of pocket. Earnest money. Basically, that money is pretty much going from you to it's going to sit with the attorney's office, but you're pretty much paying that once you put an offer on a house because you want to show the buyer that the seller that you're serious about buying the house, because they're taking the house off the market for your offer, right? Which even if you're not serious, they could have offered the house to somebody else. So you pay the earnest money to show that you're earnest about buying the house. Home inspection, you want to know what you're buying, right? Just like anything else, you want to get, like if you buy a car, you want to get that inspected because you don't want to buy something that's going to give you troubles. So you want to know what condition your house is in. So that's why it's not required that you get a home inspection, but it's highly recommended. I don't have any clients that I think that have skipped the home inspection unless they really didn't care. I don't know, but it's highly recommended. And your appraisal fee, we got to know what the house is worth. We don't want you or, your lender to pay more for the house than it's actually worth. So that's why the appraisal is important. Now at closing, so those are the upfront fees, those 3. And then at closing, you're going to pay everything in one lump sum. So your down payment and the rest of your closing costs are all lumped together in one big, closing cost. So, but it also includes your down payment. So, and then also that includes lender fees, any attorney fees. My company only charges $920. That's it. That's it. And then you have your attorney's fees. And then you also have to pay what we call prepaids. You're going to pay 1 year of homeowner's insurance up front and a little cushion. So maybe a year and 2 months. And then you pay the taxes, the rest of the taxes that are due on the property for the year. And then anything else goes into like an escrow account. And each time that you pay your mortgage payment, you're going to pay taxes and insurance on your mortgage payment each month. And those funds go into your escrow account and then your mortgage servicer, which my company also is a mortgage servicer. So in my case, my company would pay your premium every year that is due from those mortgage payments that you made over the months. Obtaining your loan. Okay. So this is like basically, let's say you just went into contract, congratulations. Now we're going to start the fun part, which is actually going through the home loan process, which is not really fun for everybody. But anyway, so the documents that you will need, if you haven't already provided, it's just going to be the same thing. So if we haven't gotten if you're self-employed, we're going to already have your tax returns. In most cases, we don't need your tax returns if you're a W-2 employee, unless you're going with a USDA government loan. But in most cases, we don't need them. But if you didn't provide everything that we needed, and maybe we talked about it and you said you're going to get it to me up front, but we didn't get it, now's the time to get it to us. Because now we're going to start sending your file over to the underwriter, if we haven't already. Usually my company, we don't have any overlays that we don't add any requirements or any documents on top of what the standard government documents or government guidelines are. So that's one thing. So just a side note, guys, when you're getting a mortgage, just know that the government is heavily involved in the mortgage process. So a lot of things that the company or the lender is asking you for is because we're following government guidelines. We're not just trying to be difficult. The underwriter's not trying to be difficult. We have to follow a government guideline. Since the crash in 2008, the government got involved in the mortgage industry to protect consumers. So we're making sure that the lenders don't what they're supposed to do and not, trying to do what we call predatory lending. So that's why a lot of these documents, we have all these documents, and also, we have guidelines that we have to follow as well. Now, what does the underwriter do? Speaking of that, the underwriter is the enforcer. I'll say it like that, because the underwriter is a person that essentially approves or denies a loan. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, I hate underwriting. What's going on? No, the underwriter is the person that makes sure that we're following the government guidelines that are set. So if there's something that's not right, they're not trying to be mean. The underwriters want you to close too. A lot of people don't know that. Underwriters want you to close too. And, it's not a secret, but they get paid off of each loan that closes in addition to the loan officer. So why wouldn't they want a client to close? We have to follow certain guidelines, right? So the underwriter is there to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. So that's what they do, and that's why. Loan documents. Okay, so this is an example of a loan estimate. The documents were updated in 2015. They used to look a lot more difficult. Now they look a lot more standard, more user friendly for the clients. So initially, when you go on the contract, you're going to get a lot of a set of disclosures. There's going to be a lot of documents, but in most cases, you can sign those electronically. This is one of the main ones you'll get is the loan estimate, and it breaks down your loan disclosures and what you can expect as far as your total loan amount, your total mortgage payment, and all that good stuff. Now, in the beginning, it's a process, right? So we're just getting started. We don't have all the information yet. If you just put in a contract, you still got to set up your homeowner's insurance. We still need to get your taxes for the year. We still got to get the fees from the attorney. So just know we're just in the beginning stages of the process. We don't have all the information at this point. And that's one reason why we call it a loan process, because the further along we go, the more updated numbers we'll have, and we'll be able to crunch our numbers and tighten them up a little bit more. And we may or may not lock your loan at this time. In this market, I'll go ahead and lock your rate up front. Your monthly mortgage payment. So this just breaks down what you can, we kind of talked about this earlier, but it just breaks down what you can expect to be included in your mortgage payment. Of course, your principal is the amount that you owe, right, for the loan. Interest is going to be in addition to the principal that you're going to pay back. Taxes, and we talked about this earlier, taxes, insurance, you're going to pay that each month, and it's going to go into your escrow account for your mortgage servicer to pay it for you. Now, if you go with any government loan, it's going to require that you escrow your taxes and insurance into your mortgage payment. But if you are going with a conventional loan, then you have the option to pay your taxes and insurance outside of your mortgage on your own. But make sure you do that and be responsible enough to handle that. Most people don't opt into that option though. All right, here are some of the general types of home loans. So FHA is the most common one. A lot of people think that one is specifically for first-time home buyers, but no, anybody can get an FHA loan as long as you qualify. And actually, we can go as low as a 500 credit score now. Do I recommend it? No. What score do I recommend? I recommend you have at least a 640 going into the home buying process, because that's going to open up the most loan options for you. You're going to pretty much have all options available for you at a 640 middle score. Remember, we use the score in the middle. FHA is 3.5% down. And so let's talk about all the government loans first. Then VA, of course, that's for veterans only, right? Veterans are active duty military people. We can actually go as low as a 500 on all government loans on that as well. Good thing about the VA program, it is 0% down. So my clients that are veterans, I love doing VA loans because they're just great. I mean, no money down. But like I said, you must be a veteran or active duty military. USDA, love doing USDA loans as well. Now, like I said, 500, this one as well. This one is a no money down program too. You have to be willing to buy a house that's in a rural area. Now, I tell a lot of people, even if you don't want to live in it, you don't have to live in the middle of nowhere. We're just, USDA is just trying to build, smaller communities. So as long as it's not in a metropolitan area, that's what they're looking for. Like it can't be in the middle of Charlotte or something like that. Like Charlotte doesn't have a whole lot of USDA areas. But in South Carolina, you could have more luck if you're willing to move to South Carolina. And there is a household income limit. So not just, let's say you're on the loan by yourself, but you have a spouse that's living in the house and they're working. Even though they wouldn't be on the loan, we still have to count their income because there's a total household income. USDA offers this program for also not just people who want to live in a rural area, but moderate income families. And to be honest with you, the income limits they're based on county, and they're actually pretty high. Most counties, the income limit, household income limit is like around 90K-ish. So, we have a lot of people that qualify. It's not really like a low income requirement. Now, conventional, 620 or greater. Conventional, it says 620 or greater, but when you're working in this industry right now, you know that you're not getting a whole lot of approvals for 620. You're going to get more approvals for conventional right now for 680 or above. And then you could put 3 to 20% down. There's a few conventional loan programs out there. One of them does require you to be a first-time home buyer to put the 3% down. Then there's another 3% down program that doesn't require you to be a first-time home buyer, but you do have to meet the income requirement. And those programs are called Home Ready and Home Possible. And those are based on county as well. Now those income requirements are typically, when I see, a little bit are lower income limits. So like, it depends on the county, but I'll just say in the Charlotte area, saying around 60 to 50K. So it is a tighter threshold on the income limit with conventional Home Ready and Home Possible programs. Mortgage insurance. So a lot of people get this confused with homeowners insurance, but it's not the same. So mortgage insurance, when you get a government loan, you're most likely going to be paying, except for VA, you're most likely going to be paying mortgage insurance, because when you put less than 20% down on a house, you have to pay mortgage insurance, even with conventional. But with a conventional loan, remember, that's not a government loan. So if you're putting down 20% or less than 20% on a conventional loan, the mortgage insurance is going to eventually fall off when you reach 80% equity in the home. Oh, sorry, 20%. Sorry about that. 20% equity into the home. But with FHA, for example, it's not going to fall off. It's going to stay on there for the life of the loan, unless you put a certain amount down. So, but just saying, well, let's talk about the general, basically, I guess the majority of what happens. So if you go FHA, you have to put the 3.5% down, which is also less than 20%, right? So you have to pay mortgage insurance. And that mortgage insurance, you're going to see that on your mortgage payment, but that is really to protect the lender. So the mortgage insurance, each time you make that payment each month, it goes into a pool of funds that the government uses to pay back lenders on defaulted loans. So not saying that the FHA loan is risky, but the government set it up that way because FHA was created to help people with more credit challenges, right? FHA is way more lenient than conventional. And for that reason, that's why the mortgage insurance is included, to help lenders be able to feel, secure in doing those type of loans, because, there could be a great chance, just talk about it, in this country, lower scores don't look good, right? So when we're helping people with lower credit scores, it's more risky. So that's why that mortgage insurance has to be there to protect the lender. But it's not a bad thing. FHA is still not a bad program. I have higher credit score people that I put into FHA loans because it was a better option for them. Processing and underwriting. So remember, you're still in the process, right? We're taking you through the process. You're under contract. So your loan is reviewed also by a processor. I have a great processor on my team that I love. So the processor basically helps with gathering all your documents, not just your documents, but also documents on the back end, like third-party documents. Maybe they have to reach out to your employer, get a verification of employment done. Maybe they have to reach out to your landlord, get a verification of rent done. So they're helping gather what we call conditions that the underwriter, requested to get everything in for the final approval. And then, like I said, everything is sent to the underwriter for that approval. And at each stage, you may be asked for additional documents. Now, I want to touch on this for a little bit because a lot of people are like, oh, underwriting keeps asking for this, the processor keeps asking for this. A lot of times we're asking for it because we need exactly what we asked for. Like if you send us your bank statements and you only send us, and it says at the bottom of the bank statements, it says that you have 5 pages, but you only send us pages 1 through 4. We need page 5. We're very specific with what we ask for because we have, like I said, we have guidelines we have to follow. We have things that we have to review to make sure that you are financially stable and able to pay the mortgage. That's why we get in your business. All right, preparing for close, getting to the fun part. Now, once you get a little bit closer to your closing date, you got all your documents in, we locked in your interest rate, we're going to go ahead and send you a closing disclosure. Hopefully, we usually send an initial one and then a final one. But either way, you're going to get a closing disclosure, and this closing disclosure is going to have numbers that are more tightened up. because guess what? At this point, we should have your title, we should have your homeowner's insurance, we should have, everything that we need to, all the numbers that we need to provide more accurate numbers for you. So in most cases, when you get to your closing, you will have some, you have to pay your closing costs. We recommend you do that prior to you arriving to the closing table. In some cases, it depends on the attorney. It depends on the amount also of your closing costs. If your closing cost is under a certain amount, usually closing attorneys will say you could just bring a cashier's check. But if it's over a certain amount, in most cases, they want you to wire it. So that's why I always tell my clients, reach out to the attorney directly and ask them how they want the funds to be transferred. And also, I like my clients to reach out to the attorney to get the wiring information if that's what they want, because there's a lot of fraud going on in the mortgage industry or in the real estate industry where people are, I don't know, these scammers are out here like using fake emails and all this to pretend like they're in an attorney's office, and people are wiring their funds to the attorney's office. So that's why I always say, hey, call the attorney yourself. Don't email them, call them yourself, get their wiring instructions, and you speak to them personally, and then they'll send you the wiring instructions that way. But I know that there's some attorneys that won't even email, or they won't email the account number out. They want the client to call them. So be very careful when you're transferring your funds, basically, and review your closing disclosure carefully. But then you're at your closing table. During your closing, just get ready to sign. Now we do have hybrid closings where you could sign some of the documents electronically before you get to the closing at my company, and then that means that you have to sign less actually at the table. So we actually just rolled that out, and we're excited about that. But just get ready to sign either way, whether it's electronically or your hand signing. But yep, you're gonna sign the main documents that you do have to hand sign, are your mortgage note, other like your promissory note and all that kind of good stuff, and your closing disclosure. And then, the attorney will go over all your documents with you at this point. And if there's anything that needs to be paid off, the attorney will pay that off. If you're buying it, like say, for example, if you're selling one house and you're buying another, the attorney will make sure that the balance is paid off on the previous loan, and, funds go where they need to go to the seller and all that good stuff, and the buyer, or if they're going to get any funds back. And this final slide is just talking about predatory lending. It's just a little bit about what we talk about. So I'll just read this. Predatory lending typically refers to lending practices that impose unfair, deceptive, or abusive loan terms on borrowers. In many cases, these loans carry high fees and interest rates, strip the borrowers of equity, or place a credit-worthy borrower in a low credit-rated and more expensive loan, all to the benefit of the lender. Predatory lending often uses aggressive sales tactics and take advantage of borrowers' lack of understanding in financial transactions. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that on my end, because when we talk about debt income ratio, that's one reason why we do that, is to make sure that the client can afford their mortgage. I think this is more so, predatory lending was more prominent before the market crash in 2008, and that's one reason why the government definitely stepped into the mortgage industry, and how we actually deal with our customers. So predatory lending, we don't have to worry about that much. I just want to note though, this isn't a slide, but I also do want to note, even though we're not dealing with a lot of predatory lending, we are dealing with a lot of discrimination in this industry. So that's one thing I do want to point out, and I think that's one reason why we're all here, is to point out that anybody can be a homeowner as long as you're willing to take the time to prepare and do your research, and make sure you have a good team. Your loan officer, your realtor, everybody that you work with really matters and going to make a difference in how your experience is going to go when you're buying a house. So make sure you choose a good team to work with. All right, now we're going to turn it over to Jasmine. She's going to talk about locating your home on the real estate side.
All right. And here's my contact information again, y'all. If you want to contact me, phone 704-266-1930. This is the nonprofit's social media and our website. All righty, the fun stuff. Okay, so just a quick overview again, the home purchase process. First, you want to meet with a real estate professional. If it's a lender, if it's a realtor, you can start with either, but you definitely want to get with those two. And then you definitely want to get pre-approved, call Kay. Definitely want to get pre-approved, not pre-qualified. And now you're able to search for homes. You definitely don't want to start looking at homes before you get pre-approved or pre-qualified. You definitely want to show the realtor that you're serious, and definitely don't want to waste anybody's time. Definitely want to make sure that we are getting you what you want to do into a home. All right, so now you found a home, you found your dream home. Now it's time to make an offer, right? However, sometimes the seller may counter offer. So now you got to get into a negotiation and getting down the contract. Now you're in the contract. Yay. Now you're in escrow, right? So now you have to pay that earnest money like Kay was talking about. And then, of course, going through the motions of getting the underwriter what they need. And then you show up to closing. All right. And so just what Kay was speaking on, the team that you would need to actually close the home. Of course, you need a realtor. You definitely need a loan officer, title company, attorney, appraiser, home inspector, insurance agent, escrow, and closing officer. Okay, so there's two different types of realtors, right? So you have a listing agent. So this is if you want to sell your home. And with that, there's two different types of contracts that you would sign with them. One is called exclusive right to sell, and the other was called exclusive agency, right? So exclusive right to sell is the realtor would get a commission no matter what. If you come with the buyer, if your mom come with the buyer, it doesn't matter. That realtor is getting paid. Okay. And also they're going to work hard for you. They're going to definitely make sure that your home is listed into the MLS. They're going to definitely work hard to get you a buyer because, they get a commission. Now you have the exclusive agency where it's kind of basically not making a commitment to the realtor. So let's say you and the realtor, you're an exclusive agency contract. So if you was to bring the buyer, then the agent does not get paid. They don't get a commission. And and if they do bring the buyer, then they still get the commission. So there are some pros with that. You can save money on commission. However, if you do go into an agreement with that with the realtor, they may not be as motivated to get you a buyer because you haven't made that commitment to them. So they may not be as committed to you. So, and they may not even listed on the MLS either. So now we have buyer's agents. So kind of the same, exclusive buyer agency. Again, they sell you a home, they show you a home, they're going to get a commission on that. And same thing with exclusive agency, same thing for the listing agent. So now we have dual agency. So my firm is eXp Realty, and I am a representation of eXp Realty. So if you find a home that is listed by eXp Realty by another agent, that is considered dual agency because the home is being listed by eXp and we're represented by eXp. So that is technically dual agency, and you basically have to say, hey, I'm okay with buying a home from eXp and being represented by a rep from eXp, which really, it's not a bad thing, but there's also another instance where there's one realtor in the transaction for they're the listing agent, they're also the buyer agent. And in those particular situations, they cannot advise either side. They cannot say, hey, you may want to counter because they're going to do this. They can't disclose any type of information. They can only tell you the process. So that's dual agency. Kay went over being a loan officer, exactly what they do as far as what they need to get you into a home. But there are also mortgage brokers that they don't necessarily commit to one company. They work and they have a pool of loans that they can have access to. But again, with good things, it's always a price, right? So you do have to pay that broker fee to get you in those particular settings as far as a variety of loan packages. Okay, then we have the attorney. So not sure what state you will be in, but there are attorney states and there are escrow states. So with the attorney states, all real estate transactions are handled through attorneys. So they can't advise you on it, right? They can't say, well, you on a contract for this, you probably need to negotiate for that. No, they're not there to actually help you. That's the realtor's job. You can hire an attorney to help you with those particular advice, but they are referred to as closing attorneys, and they basically just handle signing the documents, making sure things are in order, making sure mortgages are paid off, and putting the funds where they need to go. So of course you have the buyer's attorneys. They review the sales contract. They have to get a chain of ownership back to 30 years. They have to track it back to 30 years. You are guaranteed that chain of title. Of course, they got to research the liens. Then they transfer the real estate documents. Seller attorney, of course, they look at the sales contract and they make sure that finances as far as mortgage is paid off. All righty. So now we have, if you are a escrow state, they are a third party. So it's not a attorney per se. It could be a third party company. It could be anybody that goes through the process of becoming a escrow closing officer. So they kind of do the same thing as attorney. They prepare the deeds, deal with handling the financial responsibilities. They'll handle kind of the same thing as the attorney. They just not an attorney. Okay, the appraiser, they will determine the value. They typically, from my experience with my clients, we basically go through the lender. So they want to try to limit the appraisers being influenced. So it's just kind of, they'll put the order out there and your next appraiser pick it up. And, you know, you want to make sure that you don't call the appraiser and call them and try to persuade them to kind of appraise the property to this amount, appraise the property to that amount. So kind of minimize that. It kind of goes through the lender and they just kind of come the next, it's a rolling process. The next one get it, they just pick it up and they do it. So what that appraiser would do, they would do a market analysis. They'll go in, they'll see what closed in the area. They'll compare it based off similar characteristics of the home, the age of the home, is it new construction, is it old construction, is it a renovated home. They'll take all those things into account and come up with a opinion to basically give to the lender to say, hey, this home is worth this amount. And so, of course, this is vital. A lot of times in the market we are in right now, appraisers are coming in low. So a lot of times the buyer say, hey, I appraised this home. We're under contract for $260,000. It only appraised for $230,000. We need to figure out if you're going to come down on the price. I'm coming up on the price, but I'm not going to go to 260. So that can kind of sometimes make or break a deal, depending on how the seller and the buyer come together as far as meeting of the minds. Okay, then we have the home inspector, same thing. This is another thing that the buyer can use to try to negotiate a reduction of the price, depending on how the condition is of the home. If they have foundation issues, roof issues, definitely want to make sure you know all that. Definitely don't want to waive inspections. Definitely want to know, I don't advise you waive the inspection, but you do have that right. So different things you can do. You can do a termite inspection, lead-based inspection if the home is built before 1978, radon inspection. These particular inspections that you can do as well as the general. Of course, again, risk associated with home inspections. If something is big with the home, if you under contract for a home that's $300,000, it did appraise for $300,000, but you got serious foundation issues that may cost you $20,000 to $30,000 in repairs. You got a serious issue that you definitely have to work out with that seller. So hopefully you guys work that out. Okay, so types of home ownership, and I definitely want to put an emphasis on this because a lot of us in this day and age, we're actually not. We buy homes with our partners. Sometimes we're not married. Sometimes we buy a home by ourselves. Sometimes we buy a home with siblings, friends. You definitely want to understand the homeowner structure when you're going into a purchase with somebody else. So, of course, if you're sole ownership, you own everything. Definitely want to make sure you register a will and have somebody inherit that. Then we go to tenancy in common. So if you and your friends say, hey, look, this rental market is too expensive, we need to buy a home together. You guys are two platonic friends or you're just friends and you go in and buy a home together, you can decide to do tenancy in common. That says, okay, if I die, you actually don't get my portion of the home and vice versa. It does not include survivorship. And sometimes it's not as equally divided, right? So a lot of times when you buy a home with someone, you think, oh, we own this 50-50. No, one person can own a home 60%, the other one can own that 40%, and they can pass that 60% down to their heirs, as well as you can pass your 30% down to your heirs. And then you can kind of come together, or you can buy each other out, or that's how you can do that. Okay, then you have joint tenancy. That does include survivorship, and it does have the equal shares amongst both owners. Then tenancy buy entirely. So that's when you're married, basically. So it takes one to buy, two to sell. Survivorship, and that's mainly for married couples. Okay, so when you're buying residential, there are other ways that there are other things that you can buy as far as a single family. So you can do a condo, you can do a townhome, you actually do multi-family, 2 to 4 units is what I bought. I bought a triplex, it's 3 units. So I bought my triplex FHA, 3.5% down. And you definitely can do that. So single family, the rights that you have with that, rights of possession, control, exclusion, enjoyment, disposition, meaning you got the right to possess, you got the right to control the home. Exclusion, you can tell somebody, get off my property, you trespassing. Enjoyment, of course, you can enjoy the home, and in disposition, you have the right to sell it. Okay, condos, same thing, legal bundle rights, but the difference between owning a condo and a single family is, of course, the land that's divided, the land that the building stands on, that is shared with everybody in the building, and that is tenancy in common. And then you own the air rights. So you go out to your balcony and you stand on the balcony, from the air from where your door open to where the property ends, that is your air right. You own that air. You can sell that air to a cell phone company. A lot of people do that sometimes. That is your air rights. Of course, the interior. And the common areas are divided equally among all the condo owners. Okay, with the townhomes, of course, you actually do own the land that your lot sits on, and basically own the land. And then, of course, you have the HOA. Now, I wanted to go back to the condos. So the commonly areas is now owned by the owners, but with townhomes, they're actually owned by the HOA. That common area, they have a pool, that building that normally sits in the center or at the beginning of the neighborhood, that is owned by the HOA. Okay, multifamily, if you buy two to 4 units like I did, you basically own everything, the air rights, all the above. All right, so placing an offer. So there are 4 essential items on the offer. You got the price, you got due diligence fee and earnest money deposit, you have contingencies, you have timing. So in order, when you do submit your offer, you definitely want to have residential property disclosures, which normally is listed by the listing agent. You have to go in and initial and say, okay, the seller has to initial the condition of the home, and you have to initial that you confirm that, okay, he said this is wrong with the house, and I understand that's what he said. You have mineral oil and gas rights. You'd be surprised, people sell their mineral rights. They sell it to gas companies so they can come in and drill. So you definitely want to make sure that they did not sell that. So you definitely have to submit that. And of course, if your home is built prior to 1978, you have to do that lead-based form to make sure you say, okay, I got it, understand. And of course, along with that, you got to submit your offer. Okay, so the offer process, you definitely want to have your realtor conduct a CMA, which is comparable market analysis, which is kind of similar to what an appraiser will do. However, it's not going to be as thorough, and it's not going to be as exact as an appraiser, but the realtor definitely will make sure that they're pretty close to what an appraiser will do. So you definitely want to have the realtor put in what they will convey. Now, when you go see the home, you may go in, you may see stainless steel appliances, you see, they're real nice and brand new, it looks good on the pictures, it looks good when you see it. But then when you close, you go back and see a new home and they see that, oh, dang, they done changed it out for the white appliances, right? So you definitely want to make sure that your realtor, right, they get that serial number for the appliances, or they just say, hey, as seen, that's showing these appliances shall convey. So you definitely want to make sure, if you see a shed in the back that you want, you definitely want to make sure that you write in what you want, because that leaves it open for the seller to come in and take whatever they want. Okay, so you have due diligence fee. This is not refundable, right? So you have the earnest money deposit that basically pays them to take the home off the market. But you also have a due diligence fee that pays directly to the seller to say, hey, I'm paying this to say I'm serious about the house, and I'm actually going to do my due diligence as far as the home inspection, the appraisal, getting my finances in order. Definitely want to make that. And in this market right now, due diligence fees are going no less than $5,000. And that is money that you will not get back. And as soon as that seller signs that offer saying they accept your offer, that money is due in 48 hours. Okay, you have five days to pay the earnest money deposit, but you got 48 hours to pay that due diligence. You got to pay it. So of course, prepare for a counter offer. If they come back and say, hey, I listed this home for 305, you submitted an offer for 300,000. I really want that 305. And so you decide, hey, okay, do I want to pay this extra 5,000, or if I want to walk away? And you decide that. So if you want to rescind your offer, you can rescind it as long as the seller has not signed it and accepted it. Because once they sign it, again, that due diligence is owed, regardless if you want to walk away. So you definitely want to be very strategic on buying a home, and definitely want to make sure that you're making the right decision before you start losing money. Okay, so now you're under contract process, you're racing to closing, you're getting all this document to the lenders. Of course, those appraisal fees will range between $400 to $800. Inspection maybe between $300 to $500. I paid $350 for mine. I actually paid about $760 for my appraisal, and that's only because I wanted to I was trying to close real fast, so I paid an extra little bit of money to make sure I close sooner. So you do have that option. Of course, you want to get that closing statement for the attorney. They're supposed to give it 3 days prior to closing, the closing date for the lender, sorry. 3 days prior to closing, you definitely want to have your realtor to look over that, because they'll say, okay, the buyer's debit here, they get a credit here, the seller's debit here, they get a credit here, and it'll tell you what you have to pay. You definitely want to have your realtor check all those items to make sure they're accurate, because sometimes mistakes do happen, and this is a big purchase, so you want to make sure everything is in order. Of course, and then you show up to closing. So now going to homeownership stability. Coming to the home stretch here. All right, so maintaining your interest, right? Investment. So you definitely want to do periodic services. Definitely don't want to wait. Please don't do that. Rule of thumb, 1 to 4% of property value will be an annual maintenance. So of course, if you have a home that's $200,000, $2K annual maintenance, not too bad. I think that's about between $150 and $160 a month. Definitely want to save for bigger expenses. And then, of course, make sure you do that on a routine basis. So the cost of not doing the routine maintenance, it could be a lot. It could be a lot, especially if you let it build up. You got mold building up. It's just growing and growing and growing. And you're like, oh, I get to it. No, you need to get to it, because it will cost you a lot of money. So make sure you don't wait. All right. So now if you want to decide, okay, I've been living in a home, I like it, but I want to change something up, you do have the option to home repairs or remodeling. Financing options are HELOC, home equity line of credit. You can do a home loan, you can do insurance claims. Make sure you definitely don't want to do too many of that, because they will drop you if you start putting a whole bunch of, you start costing them money, they will drop you. They will not renew your insurance. Of course, cash. So when you're selecting contractors, make sure you be careful. You definitely want to research on how to find the right contractors, educate yourself, and develop a plan so how you want to pay it. You don't want to just say, okay, they're going to redo your bathroom, they can charge you $10,000. Please do not hand them a check of $10,000. Make sure you plan it out in phases. You want to do half up front, a third up front. Definitely want to plan it out so that people are not stealing money from you, you're not scammed, and you're definitely protecting yourself. Home warranties, you can definitely get a home warranty on the home. You can negotiate if the seller can pay for it. I'm not sure in this market you can get a home warranty. It's possible, but you definitely, it is an option to get a home warranty, and it is an option to negotiate with the seller. It's possible. So maximizing your home value, please research if you definitely want to, you're planning on refinancing, you want to increase your value so that you can get more money out. Definitely want to start researching how you can maximize your home value so that you're not spending money in things that don't add value, right? So you got to spend all this money to get a new roof. Congratulations, it's not going to add to the value. We got to have a roof. So you definitely want to make sure that you're being strategic with that if you're trying to maximize your home value. All right, so managing finances, home ownership, PTI can be made into one payment, like Kay has stated before. Avoiding foreclosures, they have programs that will help you with foreclosure relief programs, will help you with that. Refinancing, if you want to refinance out of PMI, of course, you got to get to that 10% equity to lower your payments. But of course, all good things have a price, right? So you got to make sure you have that closing cost to refinance. And so if you want to supplement your income, you have that right of enjoyment, or you have all those home ownership rights that we talked about prior. You can Airbnb, you can sell your rights, you can ground leases. If you have enough land, you can put a trailer on there, or rent it out to somebody with a trailer and charge them however you want to charge them. You do have that option to do that. And that's it for us. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. All of our information will be included in the description. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out to us. Again, here's the team here today. We got Deja Hall, Assistant Director, President of GWE, myself, CEO, Nia, Personal Finance Educator, Oma, our Credit Strategist, and Miss Kay, Mortgage Loan Officer and Blogger. So you guys have a good day, and thank you for coming.